Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Devan. Commemorating the surrender of the Japanese in the Second World War, Beijing went all out, flexing its military muscle in a massive military parade. Hypersonic missiles, unmanned drones and outfitted tanks were on display, sending a message to the West, especially what's being perceived as a message to the United States of America. The parade unveiled hundreds of advanced weapons and featured over 10,000 troops. More than 50,000 spectators, including world leaders such as Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, gathered at the Tiananmen Square in central Beijing. In never-before-seen scenes, Xi Jinping was pictured shaking hands and chatting with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin for a group photo. It was the first time the three leaders had met publicly. In a thinly veiled swipe at rival Donald Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping said that the world must never return to the law of the jungle, where the strong prey on the weak. Before the event, Xi said his country was unstoppable and would never be intimidated by bullies. Interestingly, China showcased its HQ-9C missile system during the Victory Day parade in Beijing. A variant of the HQ-9 has been inducted into Pakistan's defense network and, according to Pakistani media, was deployed during Operation Sindoor. On the other hand, Donald Trump accused Xi Jinping of conspiring against the US with Putin and Kim at the military parade. He said the US gave support and blood to China so it could secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Meanwhile, Russia rejected Donald Trump's allegations that put him and Kim Jong-un into an allegation of conspiracy against the United States. The Kremlin clarified that Putin was not engaged in any conspiracy and suggested that Trump may have been speaking, quote-unquote, ironically. But what do these developments mean? What are the larger implications? We take that conversation forward. I have with me Master Baswati Mukherjee. We also have with us Major General Sudhakarji. With us on the broadcast is also Major General Sanjay Meston and Adat Kothari, international affairs expert, with us as well. Let me begin with Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, how does a China in its military parade showcasing on the one hand advanced weaponry but also at the same time ensuring that there is enough photo op at this particular event and certain photographs of Xi Jinping shaking hands with Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un go out in international media and in international domains? How does this impact the power dynamics of the Indo-Pacific region and the broader global order, ma'am?
Well, for me, thanks to Donald Trump and all his tantrums and his tariffs and all tariff war and weaponization of trade, there has been a tectonic change in the global world order, including in the Indo-Pacific. Nobody can justify the brutal and inhumane treatment that the Japanese inflicted on the Chinese during World War II, which is one of the parts of their history which they have often refused to acknowledge or apologize. That includes the treatment of Korean women, that includes their invasion of Myanmar, which was called Burma. There were many war crimes that were committed. So this show of strength by the Chinese, just a day after the SCO summit, where our Prime Minister was very much present and visible with Xi Jinping and with Putin, demonstrates that the world order has shifted. It's Asia-centric. In fact, Putin has, thanks to Trump, Putin and Xi Jinping have taken advantage of this tariff war in order to make sure that a shifting global order shifts in a manner which would be difficult for even Trump's successor to reverse. As far as the presence of Kim is concerned, well, if you remember, Trump in his first term called him a jolly good fellow, tried to do business with him, tried to do a peace deal with him. This also shows how much his North Korea policy has completely collapsed. It also is an uneasy sign to the United States that Taiwan is in great danger, and The Quad is in danger of collapse, and so is the American dream of including India in a coalition of like-minded countries to bring about and maintain a rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific. You can't do that and impose 50% tariff on your best friend. That's not a very friendly act. And nobody would have expected, except Donald Trump, that India would come crawling to him asking for mercy. We never do that. A country of 1.4 billion people that have been colonized, we don't go crawling to Goras and ask them for mercy. So I think Trump must be watching and fuming. There's really nothing much he can do. Maybe he might try to impose tariffs on China, but he's kept very carefully away from that. He doesn't want to push Putin beyond the point because he does want that Nobel Peace Prize, which he would get if he can bring about the peace in between Russia and Ukraine. And he knows that as far as Korea is concerned, North Korea, it is today, the way it is developing rapidly, it is a huge threat to the security of South Korea. It is a threat to American bases, which are all along this region. And it is an indication that American power is waning under Trump because he's driven away all his friends and he's sitting in, I'm told, in his Maril logo, whatever you call it. He's not even in the White House. And he must be watching this on television and fuming. And I think if I was an American policy planner or a strategic military planner, I would be very alarmed at these developments. Devika.
Okay, before I bring in a military perspective, Adit, I want to bring you into the conversation. There is clearly an attempt here by China as well. They've just hosted a very grand, a very lavish SEO summit. We've seen all the imagery that's come out of the SEO summit. Yes, one can argue that ultimately at the end of the day, not much has come out on paper. And a lot of that chatter has already begun, that what was really the point. But that's not true. Somewhere, there was an effort to just send out a message, and it wasn't a subtle message, surely, through the SEO summit. So we've had the SEO summit, then this is China's military parade, where again there's a photograph of three world leaders, Kim Jong-un, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and China's Xi Jinping standing together. What does this signal about the formation of an alternative, non-Western led global network, or is China somewhere now succeeding in at least giving out that impression that, okay, if the United States of America wants to abdicate from its role as the sole leader of the world, as it has been for many past decades, self-proclaimed or not, we are ready to fill in that vacuum as the second largest economy?
I don't think it's so much the Chinese which are sending out that message, but I think the message is clearly being sent out by the very myopic sort of foreign policy that the Trump administration is basically following. With Trump and his various minions like Peter Navarro, the MAGAnomics is very myopic and very inward looking. So they're basically trying to only cater to their domestic audience while forgetting, America's role and its position in global affairs. And that is the kind of messaging that they've sent out, which countries like China are basically now sort of exploiting and garnering the benefits of. So what the Chinese have predominantly done is they've taken this opportunity and they've postured a united front. The optics of Vladimir Putin with Xi and Modi, has sent out rather nervous moments, not only just in America but also in Europe. We saw comments coming in from various European MEPs yesterday saying that we need India to provide that sort of counterbalance to Chinese hegemony, which is the messaging that they're basically sending out to the Americans at this point. But having said that, yes, the SEO may just be on paper, but what Donald Trump has succeeded in, he has succeeded in ensuring that for so long, a grouping which was basically on paper has somewhere or the other formalized now. They have started to sort of gain momentum at this point, which is what we should be thanking Donald Trump for, because it's creating a sort of another opening for India to sort of try and open its supply chains. At this point, you have to thank Narendra Modi, because he has achieved something which is very rare. So he went into China, attended the SCO, got his trade deals done with the Chinese. It was a complete reset from that perspective. Re-established his relations with Vladimir Putin, and just when the military function was meant to be happening, to ensure that he doesn't miff off his ally, the Japanese, he flies back and chose to basically miss out on that particular event of the Chinese military demonstration. So all in all, I think it works out in favor of India. The broader message that Indian diplomacy is sending out to Western hegemony is that we will stand up to bullies, and we will not cave into your bullying tactics, Devika.
Okay, Major and Sudhakarji, your thoughts on the same, because Major and Sudhakarji, there is a clear belief today amidst certain circles that America somewhere wants to, as I've just mentioned, abdicate from its role as leader of the free world and wants to focus more on domestic progress and sorting out its own finances, which has been a clear strategy of the Trump administration. Surely they want to make sure that more money is coming into America, that there are more jobs for Americans, so on and so forth. Now, whether that's true or not, we can see a clear attempt by China to position itself as a possible leader, as a possible replacement. We know for a fact that China is no friend of India's, and I don't think we are delusional about it either. My question then to you is, how do we ensure our own protection while making most of this new opportunity to create what we've been demanding for many years, a multilateral world?
Yeah, great. Devika, thank you. Good evening to you, and compliments to our distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. Excellent question you have raised, and the answer to it, that India at no stage, as per me as a student of geopolitics, should detach itself or stop promoting our relationship with any of the global power. Because if India's ultimate aim is to become a global power by 2047 or earlier than that, we must keep in mind a couple of issues. Firstly, focus on economy. Let's not compromise anything for the sake of economy. We need to grow at the rate of minimum 7.8 to 8% rate of GDP for next 15 to 20 years. And until we become an economy of 10 to 15 trillion dollar economy, we should calibrate our strategic autonomy to an extent wherein I don't say that we should bend, but we should be able to negotiate, navigate complex situations the way we have done with China recently, a few days back only, like the tunnel, that machine, the tunnel making machine or the tunneling machine, or the fertilizer, embargo on fertilizer, or the graphite, rare earth graphite, which had been blocked, which brought our electric vehicle industry to almost close to standstill. So we should be able to adopt our means and methods in diplomacy. Like it was a fantastic move. Compliments to our diplomats. They're actually second to none. They've done a commendable job, and the leadership, it's been a very good move with China. So when I say this, your question actually pertains to multiple issues. One of them is the evolving or the changing geopolitical order. Is China making a sincere attempt to fill the vacuum? Firstly, has the vacuum come? In my opinion, the vacuum came ever since the disintegration of USSR took place in 1991. While on one hand, USA has been claiming to dominate the world order by virtue of its unipolarity, but at every level, stage, and the country that it invaded, we only saw manifestation of a declining signature of a superpower. There has not been any prominent or conspicuous signature of a superpower, an authority. And even prior to that, talk about why only restrict ourselves to 91, even before that, Vietnam or Afghanistan, wherever you take the example, they have not have a classical example of demonstrating their military or diplomatic power based on the paradigm of rules-based international order. The second thing is, when I say this, the Cold War 2.0, that is post 1991, is demonstrating many issues which perhaps the world order was not prepared for. There are many things which have happened. We had the East Asia, the economic collapse or the financial challenge that took place in 97, 98. It was followed by the biggest ever economic challenge which was faced by the Western world. The America itself, the Lehman Brothers in 2008. This itself, it virtually brought the economic infrastructure and the architecture and the ecosystem of USA, particularly, and the European Union to almost a grinding halt. So from thereafter, the global war on terrorism or against terrorism, look at the way it manifested till 9/11. India is the only country which kept on making noise that please, we have given you an architecture or proposal in 97, if I respect my memory. Here is a document. A terrorist of a country cannot be a freedom fighter to somebody, and there cannot be double standard from 97 itself and until I think till 9/11, thereafter 26/11 in Mumbai, Taj attack, and host of them in Paris, in London, in Japan, and many places where the attacks have taken place. Even then, to see Donald Trump, calling Munir for lunch and second invitation and warming up its ties with Pakistan, same Pakistan which is to be derided by himself in his previous tenure, these are all very enigmatic signatures which actually contradict a kind of a coherent spectrum of activities in the international order. Therefore, it brings me to the fact that the 24th February 2022 was a landmark day, and it was a very prominent milestone in the geopolitics where the Putin, no matter what the Westerners say, he had logic and rational. He made a public announcement. Thereafter, he invaded. Initially, he thought it to be 7 to 15 days of special ops. Unfortunately, it has carried on till 3.5. It will go on for another 5,
Yes.
10 years, maybe more than that. So basically, all I'm saying is, it is a polycentric world which is to manifest in First and Second World War. The danger here is, Devika, one more line, is that in First and Second World War, the alliances were formed with the fall of a hat, and they is to break in no time. They is to realign themselves. For example, the Germany and the USSR, they signed an agreement, no pact agreement. And before they could realize that there was a no pact agreement, the pact had been broken and the conflict had broken. So there is a danger of a world war breaking out if this be the kind of a thing. Therefore, China as an emerging global power has to play a very important role, regardless of its ideology, and it is doing so. And whether people like it or not, there is a group in formation which is taking place. And this group, whether it will stand out or hold together or not, time will say. My take on the whole issue is that it is vulnerable, it is susceptible to ruptures and breakdown.
Okay.
Therefore, India will play its game well, provided we do not annoy anyone, we play our cards well, we keep engaging with all the emerging or the global powers as in today, whether it is Russia or China or USA or any other country in the world. We need to play our cards very close to our heart and very deftly, so that our ultimate target of 30 trillion US dollar economy by 2047 or before that is not compromised.
All right, Major Sanjay Mestran, bringing you into the conversation, sir. Major Mestran, Operation Sindoor did see the use of some of the Chinese supplied weapon systems to Pakistan, which have been on display at the current military parade as well. And these were all defeated by a combination of Indian as well as Russian defense technology. What does that truly now indicate about China's ability to convince the world about its defense systems? It's put on a grand show, but will there be any takers?
See, China has put up a very grand show. We must remember this is the second Victory Day parade. The first one was celebrated in 2015, again by Xi Jinping. That was the 70 years of victory, and this time it is 80 years. So these parade, otherwise traditionally they have their annual military parades, but those are also not annual. Those are also after 10 years. So if you show something after 10 years, it gives a nation lot of time. And of course, in that time, they have a lot of time to, innovate, modernize, and the way today China is modernizing. So this time they had the full opportunity to achieve certain following aspects. One, I think getting North Korean leader and of course President Putin and Xi Jinping together as a triad has sent us very, very strong message. And mind you, all are communist or I would say military dictators or authoritarian rule. So that sends a very strong message to the rest of the world. The number two is strong display of military equipment. And I think this time large numbers were displayed. If you review the 2015 parade and this time, there's a massive difference. So the intent was to get at least 26 leaders of the world and to show their military equipment to everyone that this is what they have in their kitty and this is what the highlights of today's parade were in terms of military equipment. Of course, the DF-61, which was showcased first time. Then, of course, the LY-1. LY-1 is the air defense weapon system, which is basically laser operated. So this they have tried this time. Then robotic dogs, this they have shown. And of course, HQ-9, the C and other variants. Besides this, they had also shown the anti-shipping missiles, the latest ones, and of course the stealth fighters, the latest ones, and I think undersea drones. Now these are some of the latest technologies they have shown, or the latest ones. So why it has been shown? There are 2-3 reasons. One is of course to send a strong message to the entire world. And I think if you recollect in one of the statements when the DF-61 was passing, the Chinese commentator clearly stated that today we have got a strategic deterrence and we can take on the whole globe. So this message was very, very clear. So it is a message to the entire globe that they are well prepared and this shows the military deterrence. Number two, of course, during the parade, whether it was by air or of course the DF-61 and other missiles, they have showed their, the nuclear prowess that today they have about 600 nuclear warheads. I think by 2035 or 2030, I think they will plan to have 1,000 nuclear warheads. They have also shown this missile, the DL-61, which is a hypersonic missile, and it has got MIRV facilities, and I think about 10 to 14 of them can be launched from that main missile. About MIRVs could be 10 to 14 and each carrying nuclear warhead. And another one was shown DL-5C, which can carry nuclear warheads, and the nuclear warhead, the weight is almost 4 megatons.
Okay.
So this was again a display of everything: nuclear, military prowess, latest equipment, latest technology. So the question now asked is, how does it impact? One, of course, intent was to show to the world. Number two is, I think by calling 26 leaders, they have now tried to show that they have got huge, resources of military equipment, huge reserves, and they can be one of the major exporters. Today, China is the 5th largest exporter in the military hardware. So I think some of the countries, and you also realize the Pakistan Army Chief surprisingly was there today. Again came as a shock. So, and mind you, Pakistan is importing 82% of the Chinese hardware. So they will continue to show this military case. Malaysia was there, and Belarus was there. So many people from various countries were there, including Iran. And I think the conversion of the 3 leaders again sends a strong message. So therefore, will China be the world leader? No, I don't feel they can be world leader. They have realized that it is cooperation with all these other countries, whether it is, North Korea, Iran, Russia. So they cannot be the unipolar leader the way America has been. So that is why the talks are of today of multilateralism.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Chinese would have learned after Op Sindoor. I think you want to.
Yes, yes. I have one last minute left, and there's just one more quick matter to be addressed. Mr. Mukherjee, ma'am, as far as Donald Trump's comments are now concerned, you've also mentioned that, of course, in his previous presidency, he held a meeting with the North Korean leader himself, and he was trying to build a relationship with North Korea. But now he sees that the Russian president and the North Korean leader have released a statement, a very powerful statement. North Korea has been supplying arms as well as troops to Russia to fight the Ukraine war. And now Donald Trump has come out and said that this is, the three of them are coming together to hatch a conspiracy against America. Your thoughts on the same?
Well, I'm surprised it took him so long to figure it out. He must be thicker in the head than I thought he was. It's been very clear to all strategic thinkers in the United States that the tariff war that he has unleashed on his strategic partners has merely resulted in consolidation of positions of America's traditional enemies, led by China, I would like to add, because it is China that is America's #1 adversary, and it is China that is in a position to strengthen Putin and to give support to North Korea. North Korea, on the other hand, has gone out of its way to help the Russians, and they have lost men also in the war in Ukraine. They're supposed to be excellent soldiers. So this is a consolidation of what I would call a multipolar alliance, which is emerging, which seems to be rock solid, very different from World War I and II, where they used to be called an era of shifting alliances. This is not going to shift because the adversary is clear. The adversary is the United States. What United States doesn't understand is it confuses its friends with its enemies and drives its friends into its enemies' arms. That is something that Trump needs to think about, that in his greed for money, crypto, etc., in his desire to see his family aggrandize themselves by posing up to Pakistan, he has done irreparable damage to the strategic partnerships that have been built up across the political divide in the United States, where India was supposed to be a key partner of US in this region and a key pivot to the rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific. And as I always say, what is going to happen to the Quad Summit, which is due this month? What are we going to do in that Quad Summit? What is the agenda? And who's coming for it from the United States? Unless Trump says he is not well and sends Vance, but he doesn't like the reception that Vance and his wife get in India. So it remains to be seen who he will send for the Quad Summit.
Okay.
And what's going to happen to Quad ultimately if he continues in this manner. I think it's going towards the direction, Devika, of being of disintegration. What is left of Quad? Nothing.
Okay.
Where's the rule-based order? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I just have 20 seconds. Menjan Sudhakarji has had his hand up for quite some time. So 20 seconds, please.
Be beautifully summed up by one and all by acknowledging one fact, and that fact is on 12th April, the Defense Secretary, Honorable Petty Hegseth, he made an announcement that China has got the capability to destroy all 11 aircrafts in just 20 minutes. This has come out in all the war games. That's all I wanted to share. This sums up the entire debate and discussion about the sustainability of USA as a superpower. Thank you.
Okay, all right. On that note, viewers, we sip into a very quick break.